regarding holiday candy. I used to think CVS was the best place to get it, but actually I went to Rite Aid maybe 3 weeks after Halloween, got all this stuff for like 75 or 90% off. This entire pile cost about $5, but it was bigger because I've been eating it as time goes on. So not only do you get super cheap candy, but you get to have Halloween peeps in December. Zang! Double digits. 1, 0, 10. I remember that being a big deal when I was a kid. When I got to double digits. Why? I don't know. So here we are, day 10 of 100 Days of Making Comics with me, your buddy Gazbot. So today I did 2 hours, which, as I've said before, seems to be my standard minimum. I'd have to go back and watch the original videos to see if I ever did less than 2 hours, but my goal, my official, unofficial goal is to never go below 2 hours. And I find that that helps because even on days like yesterday and today, I did like an hour and a half, and I was kind of like, I'm done. I'm like, well, if I just do a little bit more, then I have 2 hours. So that's good. And what I did today was a little bit of writing. I did 3.5 pages of scripting on issue 2. Or I'm just going to call them issue 1, 2, 3, 4, even if they're not going to come out that way. And I also did a design on the island, which I talked about yesterday. I'd done most of the research yesterday. I had pulled up photos of Hawaii a lot, craters and things like that, and also some video game stuff. One of them was like Godzilla Monster Attacks, one was Champions Online, and then the artist Matt Frank, who is a Godzilla artist. So I kind of looked at those today, and I'll show you the process video now. So yeah, today I decided to work on the island, which I was not looking forward to. I don't remember ever drawing an island. I don't draw a lot of land masses. I've done plenty of trees and mountains and things like that, but usually it's more in service of a story, like where they're in the background of kids walking through a forest or something like that. But you can see I kind of started off, I had looked at all the reference yesterday. I started off just sort of drawing one out of my head. And it came out okay, and I'm imagining that's the city in the front, and then there's a little bridge. Yeah, I don't do a lot of landscapes at all. It's always sort of backgrounds of figures or rockets or animals or something like that. And I started to go in and clean this up, and then I was like, you know what? Let me go back to my reference. And I thought it'd be a good idea to get a top-down view of like the shape of the island. And the first thing I did was kind of copy a few. That was copying Turtle Island, and then I outlined this one, and then realized it's not a very interesting shape. And I'll do this a lot with stuff that I'm not familiar with. I'll just kind of copy a few, and just to get the kind of feel for it, and then make up my own. But hopefully the one I make up will be a little bit more informed. This was a little detail. You only got to see it for a second, but the way the splash hits the rocks around the island and stuff. That one I thought was pretty cool. Sort of volcano in the middle of it. I looked at a few more. Traced that one. I think that was the last one I did, and then I decided to just go ahead and make a top-down view to the right. That's where the city would be in the bridge. And I like that little cove thing on the left that a lot of them had. It needs to have a crater in the middle. Is sort of an important part of my island's topography, but other than that, it was all up to whatever. I liked having a few small ones on the side, like it used to be bigger or they had broken off. And this actually, once I got to this part, it was a little bit easier than I thought it would be. Like the idea of drawing a map or something like a country from the top seems like impossibly daunting to me, but I did this and I wasn't worried about making it look pretty. I was just trying to get it, the landmarks there. And I kind of farted around with the city a little bit. Once I had this, I decided I'm rarely, if ever, going to show this view. Although I did first enlarge the crater. So I wanted to go back to that first view I was doing, and I used that as like a blueprint for the side view, where you could see it reaching up to the sky and forward towards the camera as best I could. And the beauty of it is, if I didn't follow it exactly, it doesn't matter because, well, A, nobody's seen this island, it's not a real island, and B, even if you see them side by side, it's, you know, nobody's eyes are that precise that somebody would call me out on it. And there's the sort of the big crater behind all the mountains and other things. Now I went in to do some detail. Probably didn't need to do this much, but I feel like the level I had it at a second ago is the extent to which I've drawn this sort of thing from a distance, usually just no detail at all. I wanted to make sure I differentiated between different types of rock and some foliage and things like that. Like, for example, this is like some moss or growth I'm putting on one side of this mountain,
I don't know if, I don't actually know if this is true. I heard about it in trees that like it'll grow towards the sun or something. So I just kind of imagined that this side was growing because it was facing the sun more often, which may or may not be true, but that's how I drew it, so it doesn't matter. Choppy water around the island because there's lots of rocks and stuff. So even if it's not that busy in terms of waves, there's always going to be a little activity there. And then I wanted the mountain in the middle to be different than the one right next to it as far as color. And then this detail in the back is to kind of indicate the huge crater in the middle of the island. And I was pretty happy with the way this was coming out. It looked unique, but it looked like it could exist, which is what I was going for. And these are just mood pieces, the clouds and things like that. Like maybe this would be the example of like the first time you see it, like, oh, there's the island. I put color in mainly for my own edification to know that there are different textures, and some of it's grass, some of it's sand, and there's different types of rock. Again, not necessary at all for the book, but just to make it clear to me. If I go in grayscale, or even just the way I render with line, can be affected by the color. So, and then I just put in some water, and I noticed there's a lot of shadow because a lot of islands. You see it more from the top, but you can see it from the side. A lot of islands will have a higher ocean floor around it because it'll be part of like the bedrock of what used to be the island, which could now be underwater, but it's still higher up. I was pretty happy with that. Put in a mood lighting kind of sky. Now I'm drawing a figure to kind of imagine the size the horror would be in relation to the island because he's giant. And there it is. I doubled it up to make it brighter color.
I, as you can see, didn't end up using a lot of the reference, but it's better to have it. And I think just looking at it, I absorb a lot of it subconsciously or consciously. So that was my day. After I did the island design, that was pretty close to 2 hours, and I think I did a little, again, what I call housekeeping of moving some things around in the way I have them stored on the computer for the project. And that was about it as far as work on the horror. Meanwhile, my new camera still has not come. It's supposed to come today, so it's either going to come later tonight or tomorrow. So assuming I can figure out the techno side of it, tomorrow will be a whole new world of crisp clarity and perfect lighting and sound! Or just slightly better because I'm still going to need to figure things out and I don't actually have better lighting. So there's that. Meanwhile, what else I did today is I had a little bit of... I was going to say work for hire, but it's not work. I make a delineation, or I'm beginning to make a delineation between work for hire and commission work. And work for hire, sometimes I can enjoy, sometimes I don't. Commission work I almost always enjoy, because commission work is typically when someone comes to me and says, hey, I like your art style, can you do me X in your style? Or even better, I like that you drew this character or this type of monster or whatever, can you draw that? So that's nice, and I've had a few of those in the last couple weeks, which is always nice. I mean, the money's nice, but also that sort of work is much more satisfying and much more validating than when somebody asks me, hey, can you do this title card for like my webpage or YouTube video or whatever, but I want you to do it in the style of this artist, and then pull the kind of coloring from that artist, and it's like, just hire those guys. But I still take the money and do the job best I can. But like I said, commission work is a little bit more fun. I also sold the print today, a Godzilla vs. Biollante print.
Godzilla, ooh, a Biollante print.
I did a little while ago, which reminds me that if you are interested, I do have an Etsy store. It doesn't have anything to do with the horror of my current project, but a lot of prints, buttons. There's a thing called a Kaiju Cube.
Etsy shop, just a little taste.
I don't yet have up original art, but I will be putting original art up there. But I'll put the link below, and you can check it out. A lot of Godzilla, Ultraman, 80s stuff, just a few superheroes. But yeah, check it out, won't you? That "won't you" is weirdly me quoting Mike Dawson from the Panthers podcast, which is a very obscure thing to quote, but I did listen to the podcast and he is a friend of mine, so I'll go ahead and put a link to that here since I mentioned it. Hey, look, I'm wearing a shirt. It's Daizujin or Mega the Megazord from Power Rangers or Kiryu Sentai Zyuranger. It was done by Ink One. He's an artist. I'll put his link below. Behind me are Star Wars toys. They were created by George Lucas, but now Disney owns it. I'll put their link below. Anyway, I'm just going to link everything. Oh, look, my shoes, they're Converse. Anyway, I think I should stop now because obvious. So 10 days, 10 days, 90? 90. Left.